Hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 109. If you're wondering where 108 is, it was lost in the ether of API changes with YouTube and our streaming thing not keeping up. So that's that. But thanks to all of those who moved over to the Discord last episode so we could still have a great hangout and talk about some cool stuff. But today, we are talking about Roland's SP404 4.04 update. Curtis seems like, I don't know what that was for, but I'm glad he seems relieved about something. We are live. That is a relief. So if that's what you're doing, I echo that sentiment, my friend. But we're talking about everything that Roland added in the 4.04 update. If you watched on the Discord last week, we did talk about that. But this time I was a little more ready and actually have the 404 plugged in. So I can do a little bit, and then we've got some videos and things like that to show. Then we're going to take an interesting deep dive into what some may call the future, I don't know, of making music with Udio. I'm not sure which way. Curtis thinks it's Udio. We'll go with that. AI music generation. This is pretty crazy. My name is Sunwarper, and with me today is Curtis. How are you, my friend?
Getting by. Accidentally played the outro instead of the intro for the beginning.
I know. I was going to say, like, you added a new intro with the, like, you made the new intro because we had to update with the patrons, all of the new patrons and things like that. And many thanks to all of you. And a lot of you were in the chat. It's great to see you all here. Patreon.com/audionautic if you want to check it out. But it throws me off because now the lead-in's different. Usually the last 20 seconds of this new one usually ends in the first like 5 seconds. So I need a whole new cue for when to start. But we'll get there. We'll get there. But how are you, my friend?
Everything has changed. I'm good. Yeah. I think the motto of the week is everything is change. And
Constants
everything
are changing.
Exactly. Constants
One of
are
my
changing.
favorite songs.
We've been ducking, we've been weaving, we've been rolling with the punches that life has been throwing in a good way, in the best of ways. It's been really good. It's been sunny. Been making some beats and trying to keep on top of things in the best way I can. I spent a lot of time in the roof recently, re-rigging and cabling. And you know me, I'm a monkey. I love running around on a rig and making lights work. So happy about that.
There you go.
Exactly. How about you, my man? I haven't seen
I
you.
just
We
have
didn't
this
have our
image of you like swinging.
Yeah, well,
One arm plugging things in and just dangling around. Sounds fun though. Sounds fun.
It is. It's fun. Love it. Always got to love a good rig. But yeah, we didn't have our meeting. How are you? I haven't seen you since
Dude,
last week. Actually, what's been going on?
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Lots to do. Not a lot of time for stuff, but I just had to, kind of accept the chaos and just get done what I can get done, and then just, what can be done is done, and then just go from there. And then when there's more time, I'll sort it out. But I have been messing with Koala Sampler a lot. I've yet to do what we'll talk about in the next segment, but I've yet to do the Koala SP integration. But I've been doing a lot with Koala because I don't have a lot of time to make music, but I'm still trying to get in those reps of like working on music. So just Koala taking samples or doing, chromatic mode or something. So yeah, but I haven't even touched. I haven't even been in the studio, like in here, since last Wednesday, I think, when we did ADSN.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it's been chaos. I was trying to work on that live set, right? But that's gonna happen later.
Yeah, we'll get to it. The Czechs have a saying: "Crocs are croquem, step by step," and it's like this notion that you can't tackle everything. You can't eat an elephant all at once. You got to take it bite by bite, and you can only take the bites that are given to you at that point by the universe. So running around and trying to do everything and trying to set all your intentions and get it all right at the same time, it's just going to set you up for failure, isn't it? At the end of the day,
That's how I got super sick that last time when all of this was crazy in like February or something. So I was like, I'm not doing that again. Just whatever I can get. Like I pushed a lot of stuff I was going to try to cram in today. I'm like, nope. We'll do ADSN. I'll do a couple things that I have that are due, and then just move on.
I think that's a really good thing to put out there into this world. We have this hustle culture, especially in what we do. This notion that you've got to be everything. You've got to be a producer, and you've got to be a filmmaker, and you've got to be a content manager and stuff like that. You've got to do it all, and you've got to do everything if you want to be successful. At the end of the day, that's just going to kill you. It's just going to drive you into an early grave, and it's just going to make you anxious. So you just got to keep rolling with it.
I've also been really embracing the idea of there's that phrase, but it's like perfect is the enemy of done or something like that, you know, that like that. I'm just like, it's not going to be perfect. Just get it done. You know, obviously, impeccable, excellent, all that, you know, all that stuff. But like, I'm not getting hung up on, oh yeah, I could try, like for videos that I'm doing for my YouTube, I'm not going to just keep, oh, I can do all this perfect editing and add all this B-roll. It's like, well, I'll get what I can done. And then, you know, but like Asaph Stripe said in the chat, and I love that, pick your battles. Yeah, definitely. So to embrace these phases and changes in life or stages of life. So that's where I'm at. But there's some really good news and a lot of fun to be had with what's come on the SP404. So should we move right along over to the SP? Because you know, I love talking about the SP.
Yeah, totally. Very much so. So yeah, it was a massive SP404 update, and I'm going to shut up for the majority because this is mainly Sunwarper. And we did do a little bit of this last week, but we have a lot of video content which we couldn't show because we did it all on Discord this week. But yes, there's been a massive 404 update, 404 MK2 update. Sunwarper, what's going down, bro? Let's tell us.
Yeah, so I think what most people are talking about, or what I've seen, is the live looping, which, yes, the 404 has added live looping. It's based off of, I think, the RC or SP505 or 555, one of the older SP models. But instead of the skip back function that you used to have, let me see if I can just, there we go. So you used to have a skip back function where no matter what you played on the SP, it would record about 40 seconds of it. And you could just hit the mark button, which I can't even see at the moment. Hold on. And it would go to the skip back where you could copy and slice it. But if you hit mark now, after you change a couple settings, you'll see a loop, a live looper. So I have a quick video that I'm going to show of using the live looper, which also shows one of the bugs I encountered. Curtis, if you don't mind playing it, because I'm seeing I'm getting some Wi-Fi warning drops, so I may be spacing out again or something. But let me just give a brief preamble. So the live looping works. You can set the duration of the live loop. So you set a BPM, and then you can do 2 bars, 1 bar, 4 bars, or free, which I think is up to maybe 20 seconds or something. I forget the exact number, but there is a limitation to how long you can loop. But then it just loops, and then you can overdub, and you can add a lot of overdubs. But one issue I've found is you can only undo the latest overdub. So you can have it where the click track is only playing through headphone. So like you can do it that way where everything's on click. There's some workarounds and things like that, but that is something to keep in mind. But as we talked about in the last little 108, the episode that doesn't exist anymore, it's kind of interesting in that way because it gives you a limitation you have to kind of work with. Like if you're trying to build songs with the live looper, how are you going to do it where you can take things out or build things up? So Curtis, let's play that video and show the track that I made. This was my first experiment with it. So yeah, that last little bit was the thing I wanted to emphasize, is that it does that whole thing that everyone was raving about Chompy for, where you can adjust the play rate live, so you can speed it up or speed it down, but it keeps the same tempo. And that is incredible to me, because you can export any sounds you make on the live looper, you can put it to a pad. Now you can't get individual overdubs and all that. It all comes as one, but you can do some really interesting things in terms of sound design with the live looper in that way, where like I recorded sounds from OctaveCat from Cherry Audio from my DAW into the live looper and then dropped the pitch and then just exported it and then built a song off of that. So there's some really interesting ideas you can do there. Curtis, anything you want to say before we move to other segments of it?
How have you found, as you said, you could only undo, so to speak, one step, and now you've had a bit of time to process that and use it and utilize it. Do you find it to be a decent limitation? Is it something that you'd rather they didn't have?
I mean, I wish you could kind of get like like the RC505, where you could have like a couple different slots that you could like, okay, this is overdub 1, this is overdub 2, this is overdub 3. But just the fact that there is live looping on the SP, at least even with that limitation of being able just to only mute the one thing, you can get a little creative though, like maybe record the drums first, or instead of the drums first, record your main synth part and then record the drums, and then you can mute those and then start recording the bass and all that type of stuff. So there's ways you can work around it, but it is a limitation that's there. I I've been using the live looper more for the ideation phase, like creating ideas, and then I'll try to either export that or rebuild it or something like that, in the pattern sequencer or things like that. But honestly, it's just a great way to just kind of get in the flow, and then whatever you record is just there and it's baked in, and you just have to deal with it. It's a nice exercise in imperfection and all that type of stuff. So I like it in that regard. I do wish it had like multi overdub and you could mute them and things like that. We might see that. I mean, they keep updating this. It's who knows.
Yeah, for sure. It's as ASF Stripe, those who invest in the SP404 were smart, and it does seem to be that it is slowly evolving into not a completely different piece of hardware from once it came, but the features, what you can do with it, are just ever expanding. And I don't feel like there seems to be any limitations to that in that regard.
Well, that's the thing. It keeps growing, right? And now it's not just a sampler. And we'll go to the sound generator in a second, but I just want to add those clicks and pops that you heard, or may have heard, in the live looping segment when I showed it. That was a bug I encountered. Others have gotten it. And I saw on Reddit someone said, "Oh, you could reformat the SD card and that can help." So I did that. I actually got a new SD card and did that. It worked for one overdub, that I overdubbed it again, and it started those clicks and pops again. So I figured out, if you do a system data reset, which is if you go to shift, and I believe it's shift 13. Yeah, go to shift 13 on the thing and then go to data. And it's not factory reset, it's a system data reset. You'll lose all of your effects settings. So all of the effects will still be there and stuff. You won't lose any of your pads, but you'll lose the color presets for your pads. You'll lose all of the effects settings, all things you can get back. But you will also lose the bus 3 and 4 parameters we've made, like all of my mastering chain for the SP gone. So I had to redo that with like cassette sim compressor. So nothing too bad. You don't lose what you've recorded and things, but that did solve it, doing the system data reset. So if anybody has that issue, that's what you can do. I'll get to some chat in a minute. There's a lot of chat. Keep posting if you've got questions about the SP or anything like that, or if you're using the SP, let us know what your take on it is. But I wanted to add, so we'll go to sound generator, because this to me was the big addition. I've seen a lot of coverage about um, the live looper, but not as much as as I would think do for the sound generator. But all of the drums besides the kick in that demo I showed are from sound generator, using the noise oscillators that it has. I just did some parameter tweaks and then added effects and things like that. So what I get so excited about sound generator is SP is now completely standalone. If you want it to, you can create your synths, you can create the pads, you can create all that. So to get to sound generator, you just hit shift record setting. There's a lot of very strange button prompts that you have to do to navigate the SP, so it takes a little while to get the hang of. Let me just move over here and show if I can just do shift record setting right here. you can see it goes to this. And this is the sound generator. It's got as default, I don't know if you can see it, but a sine type, and then you can change the pitch and level. And then if you hold shift, you can do the balance and the pad length. You can change what scale it's doing. You can change what the tonic is. So if you don't want it to be C, you can do, C sharp, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot you can do. You can go up and down the octave, but when you're using it as sound generator, it's monophonic. And if you just play it, it has just this open filter, no filter on it. So I think that's part of why it's not getting as much due as I think it deserves, because just on first glance, it seems very simple, like, oh, this really just raw sounding waveform. But if you export it or just use effects on the sound generator, you can add a filter on bus 1, something on bus 2, like a delay, and you can create a synthesizer. And then if you export the track or export the sound into a pad, you can get it to be chromatic, and then you get envelopes like attack, release, and things like that. So Curtis, do you mind showing that second video, that little 16-second one? This is using sound generator as it is, not exporting it, which I did in a live looper, but just to show what you can get with the effects on it.
Let's go for it.
So that was a filter on bus 1, and I had an LFO on the frequency, so it was moving up and down, I think at a 1 measure, just going up and down with a low depth. So it's just kind of creating a little momentum. And then I had Kodama, which is a resonating delay on bus 2. So it was kind of adding this very interesting undertone and things like that. But what I really like is if you export the sound you make, add the effects back on or resample and do some stuff, you can just create a pad, because you can get polyphony that way. So that's how I get the polyphony. So yeah, sound generator is awesome. I have a whole video tomorrow, like making a full beat with it and going all into all these different ways to make the most out of it. So if you want to see more about sound generator, go there. Curtis, there's a lot of chat I want to go through, but do you have anything you want to go over or mention?
I just like the fact that it's becoming ever more its own little box and its own little standalone thing. Again, for not too much money. Like the Push 3 is its own little standalone DAW these days, but it's ridiculously expensive. But for a relatively cheap price, you just have this box which you can carry everywhere and make something from scratch without any kind of idea. And it's pure synthesis in that regard. So I just think that's a really cool feature, and it feels.
Uh-oh. I think I froze. Did I freeze? I think I froze for quite a while there.
I think you did.
Yeah,
You did.
I heard you say, and it feels, and then it just stopped, and I was like, oh boy, that's not good. Oh, I lost you again. You there?
I am there. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna see if I switch. I was on Ethernet, but I'm gonna oddly try Wi-Fi and see if that works at all. Let me go through some comments and let me know if I go out again. But let's see. We've got Survey Channel in the chat. Is it showing? There it is. Hello, Survey Channel. How are you doing, my friend? Good to see you. He says, we had some nice sun the last couple days. Now it's raining again. We've had some crazy weather here. It was raining, then sunny. Now it's like 80 degrees Fahrenheit. I want to specify Fahrenheit for our international. It's not 80 Celsius. And MX Drew says the sun is overrated. They also ask, is it better than the KO2? So that's a loaded question. I mean, the KO2 is a lot more limited in some aspects. It really depends on what you're looking for out of a sampler. The SP has longer sample time. You can do different kind of like bit rates and things like that. You can do multiple forms of pattern sequencing, which I think, unless they've updated it, I don't think the KO2 has there's a couple things it's lacking in terms of its sequencer. I'd have to brush up on the KO2 again. But yeah, it's also, I think, only like 6 minutes of sample time, whereas you get 16 minutes per pad on the SP. But if you're looking for something that's even smaller and does a couple different things and just a different workflow, the KO2 is there. So I'm not going to say one is better than the other, but I really like that the SP can kind of offer everything. And now that it has synthesis built in, that kind of changes the game for me completely, because you can just take that and you can do live sounds on top of things and stuff like that. So there's a lot more flexibility now with that. Oh, interesting. Smiling Air says Curtis is dropping out.
Yeah,
Thought
apparently,
I'd
so
be dropping.
apparently I'm the drummer. Lars says it as well. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. I have.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
not.
I
Yeah.
thought I was the one that's freezing because that's usually my issue. So, all right, way to shake up the game. Let's go. Abby asks, can you back up the SP404 settings and recover? You know, that's a good question. I know you can back up. Like I backed up my project and all that. It takes a really long time, but you can back it up onto your SD card and then you can like import it back in and have everything in terms of pads and recordings and stuff like that. I'm not sure about the settings. I'll have to check into that. That's a good question. I just kind of like just did it really quick because I had this issue and I needed to fix it for videos, so I wasn't even thinking. And I mean, it's really not that big of an issue to just reset the effects. Though the biggest bummer was losing like some of the master chain. But I mean, my settings on compressor are 000, 100% volume, and then cassette is 000. It's just the effect that it adds. So it's not that big of a deal, but it is something to mention and note. Yeah. Let's see. Anything else in the chat? I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, Curtis. I think there's a few other things I want to cover, but is there anything you want to go over before we go to the next bit of the update?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Full steam ahead, brother.
Okay, this one, hopefully you can share it, but it's that video just showing, we'll just show a second of it, but Koala and Roland, or I should say Elf Audio and Roland have teamed up to create integration between the SP404 and Koala. So now you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get the piano roll that you can control on the SP, but see it on the iPad or phone that you're using. You can get stem separation on the SP404 because of Koala. So if you have an SP404 and you don't have Koala, it's only a couple of bucks. I think with all the updates to get stem separation and a piano roll, it's like $15 or something. So very cool. It kind of makes it like similar-ish to an MPC in a way. But I use both and I've used them together before, but this one I haven't tried yet. But this really creates some interesting synergy or synchronicity between the two. I'm going to add this video if you can just play it for a second there, Curtis, but we'll just show. This is from Roland, their update video.
We can now use our SP404 Mark II to control the awesome Koala app. To do this, connect your SP404 Mark II to a device running the Koala app and it will automatically switch to controller mode. In this mode, the SP will now trigger samples within the app by pressing the chosen pad.
Yeah, I love that. And there's a whole lot more to it. So if you want us to cover all of the integration there, let us know. We can do a video where I share the screen and show that. I just need some time to wrap my head around all of that because I was going through Live Looper Sound Generator. So I'm kind of doing each one. Lars asks, seems cool, but is it really useful? If you're asking about the Koala and SP integration, it is very much so because the two work really well together and now they can work completely together as like one instrument. So now you get a screen, you get piano roll, so you can see all of the things you're sequencing, you get all of the effects of the SP, all that kind of stuff. So in my opinion, it's very useful because I make beats with the two together. And what I always had to do was just kind of like send whatever I made in Koala, just resample it into the SP. But now they're working together, they're synced. So I can control Koala with the pads. I can change effects and parameters of samples in Koala with hardware. So it's tactile now. And then I can play the pads on this. So I can create a hardware Koala, or I can like add things to the SP in terms of piano roll, stem separation, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, for me, it's massive. I just haven't had a chance. It's such a big thing that I want to give it its due. So this was basically like multiple updates put together in one. You get the synthesizer that they added, you get a live looper, you get Koala integration. And one other thing about the Koala integration is just the fact that two companies have teamed up together to make this, like to actually work together to do this, which I think is an even bigger thing. Just the fact that two completely different companies that, I mean, are kind of competition in a sense. I mean, different price points and all that, but samplers are like, hey, we can team up and make what people are using together. Like we can make it work together for the consumer, for the user, and make something really cool. So I really like that fact. And it looks like Ace Stripe agrees. Yeah, I dig that integration with Koala. Before we go to the next segment, Curtis, there's just a couple quick fire updates I want to add. They added a groove function, which adds this sort of like it glitches up audio, but they say for drums you can add a sort of like swing to samples. Really interesting. I haven't had much chance to mess with it, but if you check out, I'll put a link to the video that Roland put out where they show everything. I mean, it's like a 40-minute video of like all the things they've added. Another big one that they added is preset measures for sampling. So you used to have to try to time hitting the stop button so that you were on time and that it fit a measure. But now they have pre-measures so that you can say, hey, I just want to record 4 bars or 2 bars. And it starts the recording. And then at the 2 bar or 4 bar of the BPM you set, it stops. So you don't have to stop it. So you can actually get things on time without having to try and do chopping and slicing afterwards. They added a level meter, which, I mean, I just think that's cool that you can now see what level of volume you're putting into it when you're sampling and things like that. Multi-pad export, pattern chain export. They added a whole new thing with TR rec mode, a microscope thing. There's tons of stuff. So if you want us to cover all of those smaller functions and features, let us know. But I just wanted to mention they're there. And this update is free for any 404 Mark II user. So lots that they've added there.
It's great. Like you say, they're really evolving the box and what it can do, trying something new. And that integration with Koala is really nice. Like you say, the two companies who you would think are rivals coming together and actually going, you know what? Together we grow. Actually, we can do better things together. You know. So yeah, awesome. Let us know what you're enjoying from the update. I'm still without an SP404, and this is just getting my my gas really going. I really have to get it. But we'll see how it goes. So yeah, before we get on to the next segment, just to say, there's many of you here today. ASF Stripe, Abby, Survey Channel. I'm trying to think if I've missed anyone else in there at all. But yeah, this show is brought to us by you guys, our patrons. Thank you ever so much for your continued support. It's down to you that we can do this. We have a platform, a small little platform in which we can spend the week finding this news and finding music out to put out into the world. So thank you ever so much for the work you do, for the support you give us to allow us to do the work that we do. Really appreciate it. If you like what we do, you're starting to tune in, you've got a little dabble of what Audionautic happens to be, and you like it and you want to help us get through, consider becoming a patron. Pledges start only $2 a month, and you get instantly straight into this different Discord channel, for example, Discord server where we we're talking about tips and tricks and helping each other out. We have a monthly hangout with Starstream. And as you get further up, there's more and more stuff like early access for releases and stuff like that, which Sunwarper is usually better at describing all the details because he can remember them and I can't always do that. What else do they get, Sunwarper?
You get, as Curtis mentioned, exclusive channels on our Discord. The Discord is free for all. If you're not in there, consider joining because we also have monthly challenges for all members. This month, we've got the genre gambit, where the goal is to just make a track outside of your usual genre. So I'm making some industrial metal. That's why on the Discord, I was asking if anybody has the Alessis HR16 samples because I'm going for that Godflesh sound. I've got the Jazz Master in drop B, and I was doing some really cool industrial stuff. So it's just ways to kind of get us out of our comfort zones and things like that. But yeah, if you join the Patreon, you get access to additional channels on there, the weekly hangouts or monthly hangouts. The next one, I believe, is next weekend. Curtis can correct me there. You also get early access to videos, to all of the sounds and things we're putting out on Audionautic Records. So if you want to help support the show, if you dig what we do, that is the best way to help support us. We don't take sponsors. We don't have advertisements or anything like that. So this keeps us going, and your support is what helps us there. So massive thanks to everybody who does support us over there. And of course, just hang out is always more than enough. But yeah, head over if you want to join the community. What do you call it? The community corner, the Discord challenge, the genre gambit, because these challenges are really fun. They're getting really interesting. Smiling Ears had a crazy track from the last one.
Mm-hmm.
That was really cool. And there's lots of samples people put up and things like that to just get and all that. So yeah, the Discord's a lot of fun. Yeah. So what do we have on the next topic there, Curtis? Because you brought this one to the table.
Yeah, this has been a lot of people have been talking about it over the last week. So I think you actually brought it to attention, and
I
then
did. I did actually. Speaking before we fully transition, I forgot to also mention that if you join the $5 tier for the Patreon, you can also come on the show. And we've actually patiently waiting because he doesn't have an SP404. Lars has been sitting in the green room just listening to us go on about the awesomeness and hopefully convincing him to get one, but I doubt it. He's a machine user. But Lars, just give me a thumbs up if you're good to come on, because at that tier you can come on our show and hang out with us and give your opinion and let your voice be heard. So Lars is good to go. I see that thumb just going up and down. Lars, what's up, my friend? Oh, there. Oh, Curtis is trying to take the production role.
He's also
it's all right. Oh yeah, you are muted, Lars. I think that's on your end. I can't unmute you.
Okay, I think I got it now.
Yep, we're hearing you. How are you, my friend?
I am good. I am here. I am trying to coffee myself into energy.
I don't know if that's a good idea, seeing what your mug says.
I mean, it's already done its job there, so I'm waiting for it to do its other job.
All right, nailed it. All right. So yeah, let's talk about Udio, whatever you want to call it there, Curtis.
Udio. I think we call it Udio. And yeah, we've done a bit of a deep dive. I've been playing around with it, try and work out whether it's a tool or if it's a tool. And the notion of what is it useful for? Why is it good? It's basically is it worth all the hype? People are talking about it. People are generating stuff, and they've already written 3 or 4 albums just like that. And it's like, okay, let's talk about this. Let's work this out. So, firstly, what is it? It's a text prompting AI generation platform. I'll bring it up so you can see. And it's in beta right now. So it's completely free in that regard. And it allows
I like how you're second guessing your own pronunciation there, beta. It's Udio all over again.
Dude, I've been teaching English for so long at this point. I have no idea.
So what is your preferred, just to completely derail this to a different topic, what is your preferred, beta or beta? Oh man, I stumped him. His brain just stopped working.
Let's go with beta.
Okay, without thinking, say one.
Beta.
Whoa. Okay.
Wow.
All right, there we go. That Lars almost choked.
So yeah, it's a music generation software, which it's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting. Trying to find it, but I'll bring it up in a second. But essentially, you type a text into it, and it can tell you and it will generate music for you. And this has always been a bit sketch, to borrow the vocabulary from the youth these days. It's a bit sketch because it's sus. Yes, exactly. It's sus. Because we just don't know how much we can throw AI generated music. So I went on. We won't do them all because we want to try and get away by 1:15 today. But I will put all of the generations and all of the text prompts into the Discord. If you want to come and join us there, I'll put it all there and we can have a big discussion about it. But essentially, I threw a load of prompts into the generator. With the idea being that we could see the strengths and weaknesses of this machine, this tool, and work out whether or not it's going to destroy us and take all our jobs, or whether or not we can utilize it in its own way. So
let me just add a quick thing about when we're playing those songs, they're going over internet and through our streaming through StreamYard. So if you want to hear what they actually legitly sound like without any artifacting through the internet and compression and things like that, head to the Discord because Curtis will put them there. But yeah, I think StreamYard makes everything monophonic, and there's a lot of artifacting and compression. So yeah, Smiling Air says it does dubstep very well. Frightening, actually.
Yes. It's an interesting one. And if you want to share the screen,
yes.
Just this is just to get an idea of what it can do. And he literally I have to sign in here, but you can literally just type in a prompt, give it some parameters for like the vibe that you want it to give, and I'll share those before I play you the tunes. And then literally within a few minutes, it just creates it for you. It's wonderful in that regard.
Wonderful or dystopic?
It's free dopamine. It's free
free
dopamine.
Okay. It
Free
really is
dopamine.
just like Stable Diffusion or ChatGPT, but for music. I mean, we knew this was coming. I think there were other ones even before it. And I mentioned that one that does sample packs. I forget the name of it, but Output or something that you create.
Yes, Output.
Yeah, it makes sample packs. Or so. I mean, this has been coming. Asaph Stripe says, put up your Duke's AI. Yeah. Well, you've got some prompts or some songs from prompts. Is there anything you want to say before we start taking a listen to what it does?
I just want to see on the offset before we get into it what Lars is thinking at this stage.
So, okay, kind of cool, honestly, kind of cool, but still, to me, it's just cool in the same way that AI artwork is cool. You know, you can get some really interesting stuff out of it. Like, I like to play with it and see what I can find. But here's what I am not looking forward to. I am not looking forward to the legions of people who are going to be online on social media talking about how they're an AI musician now.
You are right.
You're on Threads too much, man.
Yeah, I got to delete that.
That's where your first thought is, oh, I'm gonna have to see this on Threads now. I saw some already, like Curtis mentioned, that some people were saying, oh, I've released like a couple albums, you know, I do this with the thing. I mean, yeah, there's always gonna be that. I'm not defending it, but it makes me think of like pop music or any or like movies. When a big tentpole movie comes out, or like a big movie comes out that does really well, all the studios think like, oh yeah, let's make that type of, like, let's capture that magic and make a bunch of money, and then they all flop or something. But like, it just reminds me of that, where it's like there's that side of it, you know, the generic, the corporate, whatever have you, but then there's that flip side of it where you can do some really interesting things with it. Like I mean, I'll talk more about it after, and I know Curtis has it too, but like, in my opinion, like, I don't have time right now to make a lot of music, right? I have all these instruments that I just can't play, but I have a phone that has Koala. I have the SP in the house. If I can just get started with something, just like, rather than sampling vinyl and dealing with those copyright issues, we'll talk about ethical and copyright issues with AI in a second, but I can be like, hey, AI, I want, you know, this type of sound. And then that's my start point, and I can just make something. I'm not saying I'm going to release, but you can make some interesting things. I mean, there's stuff you can do with sampling or self-sampling, you know, that you can get outside of your comfort zone and then build on top of it with live instruments and things like that. So
yeah, I know what you said earlier about, like, you know, a movie comes out and then other studios are like, ooh, let's make that movie. It reminded me of a magic time in the late 90s when there were 3 movies about an asteroid hitting Earth in theaters at the same time.
Well, remember Pokemon too? Then there was like Digimon and this and that.
Oh my gosh. Pokemon, Digimon, there were like
now we've got Pal
others.
World, and there's a bunch of clones of Pal World coming out. Yeah.
Wow, somebody made something cool. Let me clone that and capitalize on it.
But I'm just saying, so that will always exist in any form and art form. But there's always that flip side. Like, it's two sides of a coin is all I'm trying to say, is that there are interesting ways to use this. And then there are the ways to, I mean, exploit, however you want to say it. Curtis, let's show this and then let's give our opinion, because I think it's important to hear. As Ross says, it's better than that. It's almost at a point where it can stand on its own 2 feet. I think they're talking about the AI, the way it produces or whatever. So yeah, let's hear what this sounds like, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so this is the first prompt that I want to show you. The prompt is quite simply smooth jazz, easy listening in the style of Blue Monk 1950s recording. And this is just text to audio. Nothing else has been done. So let me just play this for you.
Take my heart, it beats for you. Take my eyes, I see with them. Only if you're in my view.
The pitch on the voice, you can just like hear a couple clear delineations where there's no shift, there's no like natural movement of the. I mean, that's really impressive. in the voice especially, but I really like how it's like ooh, ooh, like there's just a skip. There's no shift, like no glide or whatever between notes and things like that. That's crazy.
Just
I mean,
auto-tune, right?
yeah, it's like you're listening to a 50s song that they put through auto tune, or they stem split, and then because I can hear that AI artifacting that's in there. Like any voice through AI always has this sort of like artifacting, but also kind of sounds like not dead, but like missing something. You know that I guess it's that uncanny valley.
I think Asaph said it best. It's like it sounds acceptable. Like it sounds like what you told it to make, but it's also like you said, it's like there's those very clear things there. It's just like, wait a second, that's not real.
Yeah,
and
it's that
kind of the
uncanny
same
valley.
thing that we're still kind of the same thing we're still having with AI art, where it's just like,
Yeah.
ooh, it looks really cool, but you see those little red flags. It's just like,
yep. Yeah, Ross says auto-tuning what though? It's not auto-tuning. It's the fact that it's a synthesized voice that's missing the thing. So it sounds to us like auto-tune because that's synthesizing the voice, but it's just missing that natural movement between where there was one word there, like two words when it switched. I really heard it. That's why I started kind of giggling because I heard it just go from like this note right to there, like nothing, no movement, no natural movement. Smiling Air says dead behind the pixels.
Behind the pixels.
Now, what's the next sound we've got?
Like that.
Let's see. What do we got?
So I went a little bit more. I tried to do something a little bit different with this one. This is the prompt for this one: metalcore in the style of Ginger, Ukrainian metalcore band. Female vocals, lyrics about the collective consciousness and loving everything. I thought it was a great way of doing it, and it came up with this one. This one's entitled "Entwined Awakening." I'll leave that one there for now. Yeah, so that's metalcore for you in AI.
Oh, that's hilarious. I like how it still had that bass drop, that loud, like that stereotypical bass drop that you hear in a lot of that metalcore right there. That was awesome.
Oh man.
Ross says, but it is using autotune. Is it? I'm not sure how it's generating, but I mean, if it's synthesizing the voice, I wouldn't call that autotune. I would say it's just a synthesized voice. If it's taking sounds from things and then auto-tuning it, I don't know how it's doing it. Ross, maybe you know, and that I'm not sure. But if it is just all synthetic, if it's all just creating it, then I wouldn't call that auto-tune. I would just say that it's there. But I really want to try something. Yeah, Smiling Air says I might use this for the genre challenge. Yeah, that would be interesting as long as you do something with it. Yeah, because Lars says no cheating. But I'm just thinking, yeah, that could be an interesting start point to sample. Like I was saying, like take something and sample it if you're like running out of ideas or hitting a writer's block or something. I'd be curious. I haven't checked this out, but I really want to try giving it like multi-genre prompt, like new metal in the style of Boards of Canada or something crazy like that. Like to see what kind of chaos. Because I remember that digital vinyl, AI vinyl thing we looked at a couple episodes ago. And then we it did one where it was like shoegaze metalcore and it was just chaos. Like it didn't turn out the way it was. That's I want to see, like, can it do those complicated things?
It's I think this is the very beginning and this is in beta right now. And the next prompt will show you kind of where its strengths lie and where its weaknesses are. But there is definitely a setting the grounding of what is possible now in that regard, whether it be for underscore for content creation or for like then you take the song and split it and sample it, that kind of thing. It is a lot that you can play with, especially the final prompt, which I'll show you in a bit, trying to combine we're keeping that one for the Discord, but the combination of moving genres together and seeing what it can do, it's quite exciting in that regard. It's quite exciting.
Really quickly, I just want to share, Ross was saying, no, Autotune for Humans is not what it's doing. It is using the program that Autotune uses to make the vocals. Interesting. Yeah, because I was wondering how it's generating the vocals, because I was thinking, like, I remember in The Mandalorian, the TV show, I don't want to spoil it, but there's a character who they use like deep fakes and things like that. And they used a program called, I think, Respeecher for one season, where like you talk into it and then it has all the data. I don't know all the details, but I think it has data kind of like deep fakes of that person's voice. And then it like puts that voice, superimposes it or something. So I didn't know if it was doing something to that effect, but yeah, I would have to get the voice from somewhere. It's crazy. I would like to know more about that. Again, I this was Curtis's domain for this, so thanks, Ross, for clarifying that. It's very interesting. I want to learn more about the actual creation of it, like how it's generating these sounds.
It's fun.
That last one was really weird because it's like that one. I feel like they did the vocals were better on that one. Like it didn't have
Maybe
so much
because it's
typing.
well, I think because it's a scream.
Yeah, those guitars sounded like ass. Like,
well, we are getting it compressed though through the. I want to hear it on the Discord, but yeah, it did. It sounded like the like a 128 version of the Doom Eternal soundtrack, like all that just like compression, because it was already messed up the way they exported those sounds, most of them because of all the drama with that game and stuff. So that's what it sounded like to be, just brick walled and then like smushed and just all this like artifacting and stuff. I was like, oh, but the vocals through this did sound interesting, and I think it's from the fact that it's like a vocal fry or something. But I really want to know how it's generating that stuff. It's really interesting.
I don't think they got the prompt about female vocals though, because that did not sound.
Yeah. Let's hear the next one, Curtis.
All right.
Okay, so this one, the prompt for this one is traditional Irish folk music, melancholic yet with a glint of optimism. And I brought this one to the table because it shows the limitation in the organic textures like guitars and strings, etc., but also the sampleability of it. So I wanted to bring this. So this one's called Emerald Twilight. They do name them all for you as well, which is quite nice.
How convenient. You don't even need to think of a name now.
Exactly. Why even have any creative output when you can just generate something? Anyway, this is the traditional folk example.
I feel like that lead was not where I wanted, like, was expecting it to, like, it didn't sound right there.
Lars is just shaking his head with absolute disregard. Lars, what are you thinking?
This feels really weird, especially since, like, you know, people send their music to me and I listen to it like as intently as I can. And now I'm sitting here listening intently to this music that I know is not made by anybody. It's just like random mathematical inputs trying to make something cohesive. And it sounds so weird. It just sounds so weird. I think like a lot of the like the electronic textures, they seem to work just fine. But like you said, like the acoustic, like the natural, like acoustic textures, they just sound so off. It's hard to put. It's hard to accurately describe. Yes,
it's unsettling. Like it's the same with when I watch AI videos that are trying to look realistic. It's just that uncanny valley. Like it's the same with photos too. Like you were saying, Lars, when you start looking into the photo, I feel like the AI photos for me, maybe it's because I've been like using it a lot, but it like you notice the artifacting, but when you're trying to generate like landscapes and stuff, it doesn't necessarily seem like unsettling per se, but the videos and stuff and things that are trying to be realistic, that's where it's like, oh, that's why maybe like I'm just theorizing, but maybe that's why the more organic sounds seem more unsettling in here, because we're expecting it to sound human, because organic instruments have to be played by a human. So there's imperfections, there's off times, there's this and that. And I mean, it almost sounds like it's mirroring those imperfections, but either it's doing it on accident because of its algorithm, or it's just trying to, and it's hitting that uncanny valley. And it's so weird, weirdly fascinating.
It's almost like it's trying to hold a butterfly too tight and therefore crushing it in that regard. You know, it's trying to emulate.
I did want to mention, because Asaph was bringing up something I wanted to mention, because when I was hearing those guitars, I was like, oh yeah, I hear the artifacting in the guitar, but I wonder, someone that's not like always just playing guitars and stuff, would someone notice these things? And where is it? Sorry, Lars, I posted your Asaph says, but is it passable to non-music? But it's passable to non-musicians, right? that's the interesting thing. That we've got Dialect Kane says, right, to non-musicians, it's just lo-fi. Yeah, that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel
And
like it would
it's
fool. Oh, go ahead.
no, Lars, go ahead, bro.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I feel like it would fool the same boomers who are on Facebook liking all those weird AI pictures. It would fool them for sure.
I always
They
see that on the
Um,
ChatGPT subreddit, like, oh, this one has 1.5 million likes or something, and it's like clearly fake.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
Just a
I'm
bunch
just
of
trying
people
to see if
saying
there's any
amen
other
in the
chat.
comments.
Yeah, hold on. We got a couple other chats I want to share. Ross says it definitely goes generic. 1 year ago, an AI app that could name songs would sell in the App Store. Genuinely name songs, not random generate. Yeah, I mean, I think, Ross, I think it was you in a previous episode that was talking about how like this might be the last year of paid stem separation or something like that. Maybe it was someone else. But I mean, it's interesting just the way these things just develop and scale so quickly. It's really interesting just how quickly everything changes and advances. It advances so quickly.
And I think that's something to carry forward in that regard, because this is just in beta, and it is going to grow and get more and get bigger and more in depth. That note from Ross as well about the kind of the generic nature really comes up in this next prompt.
Yeah, let me share that. I was waiting to share it, but if you want to reference it, let's bring it up because there's the listeners on Apple and Spotify don't see it. So Ross says, you are being very generous to the 1,000 generic hit singles that swamp a scene a year after new music breaks through. That's what I mean exactly when I was talking about movies and all this. Like, that's what always happens. Like, if something is in the zeitgeist or popular, people will try to copy it.
Say
Exactly.
it louder for
And
the people, Ross.
Exactly. And I think it goes one step further, as well as sampling. What this pushes out is something like Envato Elements and ArtStation, things where you're looking for underscore for your YouTube videos. If you're an influencer, or if you are, you're making videos on something in general, where you just need that generic sound, where it's not about the music, it's just about the vibe, so to speak.
Yeah,
And
background.
exactly. So let's take a look at this one. This is called Neon Deadline. It's a synthwave track in the style of Gunship, heavy beats with lyrics about being late for an appointment at the dentist. And I had some fun. I was having fun. So this is this one. This is what I'm talking about in the whole generic kind of underscore vibe. Just listen to this one for me.
In the rush, time slips like sand in clenched fists now. Gear shift, I push to the floor. Now I race. Neon streets feel like a heartbeat fighting time, but I need more.
I need more. That voice was interesting.
That did not sound like synthwave. That sounded like KMFDM from like 2015 onward.
It sounded like something you'd hear in Cyberpunk 2077, like in one of those clubs. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
It creates an it's not high quality, it's not Gunship itself, but it creates a vibe in that sense, which just has an inkling to something. It's not a direct thing, and it's not going to be there, but it is something in so generic that you can't really put it into its own space, which is what I feel like it's going for as well in that regard.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, that gets into the whole idea talking about like when you just need it for background, like there goes the whole idea for making music for TV and movies and things like that. I mean, I think there's, as of now, it's this will, I mean, what we're listening to now will be dated in the next week, right? If it keeps advancing and changing, like the algorithm and all that stuff. But there's definitely there's some quality differences between what a human can make versus what that's doing. But I mean, if someone doesn't have money or a budget for music for their film or something, it's there, and then that goes theoretically a job, right, or something. I mean, I don't know, just thinking like more of the darker path that this can go or something.
Well, I think, I mean, I spent the job I had before the job I had now. I was making music for Underscore using AI, and we made a lot of tracks. And the amount of but the quality of the tracks were quite clunky and were very obviously MIDI and generated. And some of the stuff coming out of here, we haven't played all prompts today because we haven't got time, and I'll put them in the Discord. But what you can get from them and what you do see from them at the very base level, at some of them are better than the songs that my AI was generating 2 years ago, for example. And I was making music specifically for TV and film and for Underscore, and this is totally where this is headed for in that regard. And this is just the beginning of that, which is quite scary. And in the name of removing jobs and removing what it can be used for, and upsetting the whole kind of sound library creators, so to speak, that does breed questions as to usability in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are questions for a future discussion, but I mean, it is interesting. And on the other hand, I mean, someone was mentioning, I think it might have been Smiling Air, saying like musicians of the future will include artists that can write the prompts better than everyone. I mean, you see jobs coming up for prompt engineers with ChatGPT to like post to social media for companies or something. So it's like that's I mean, if a musician is trying to make money from their job, maybe that's a hat they can wear or something. I mean, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying like these things always change. Like the future is always changing. So yeah, let's listen to these last two because we're running short on time, and then let's just give a final thought, and we'll continue the talk in the Discord, obviously.
I wanted to finish this last one on a little brighter note at the very much the limitations. So this is it's Hugaku music of an intense nature. So I was trying to emulate traditional Japanese folk music, which is quite niche and not many people know about. And as you can see, I'll play this and then you can tell me what you think.
That low note just sounds so wonky to me. The like
So
bass note.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, that did not sound like any kind of like traditional Eastern music at all. That sounded very westernized.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think we found what the bias is.
Yeah, very much.
Or at least where the algorithm is now. Yeah.
Yeah, I did another couple of prompts using ideas from Vietnam and from Thailand, and it had the same thing. It basically had the 12-tone equal temperament, and so it's very much biased towards Western music in that regard. And maybe it just doesn't have as much source material. Maybe they just haven't fed it that much stuff. But therein lies your limitation in that regard. It's very much geared towards Western music, and it's very much geared towards, again, generic, mainstream, popular music, and which gives us a bit of optimism and hope for those kind of more niche things.
Yeah.
Even things like post rock, it didn't really have much to say about things like post rock and IDM and stuff like that. It wasn't as good in inverted commas at kind of replicating that. So we're safe in that regard, if you think about it.
If you make weird music, you're good for now.
Yay!
Interesting comment from Ross. I suspect we'll be less angry about it all when the AI also starts to supply other things like stems, MIDI, mixing, etc. I get that to a degree, but I just think if you're trying to make a living from music, this is theoretically removing or could remove one very potentially lucrative avenue, like where you can make money from music in terms of like composing for scores, for movies, for film, for television, things like that. I mean, things change. That's just the nature of life. So it is what it is. But I think that's something to be somewhat reasonably upset about. But I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, if we keep getting advances in stem separation and things like that, it's pretty crazy. He says they say no, if they supply those things as well, we could all edit it. I mean, I saw somebody did create sounds on it and then split the sounds in a stem separator and then mixed it and released it or something. But I don't think that changes the fact that there's a right to be angry in a way about this. Like ASF Stripe says, it's shrinking the pie for musicians. That's
Yeah.
all
But
I'm
I just-
saying. I mean, yeah.
I just want to point out real quick that AI mastering has been around for like what, more than 5 years at this point, and people still hate it. Like,
Yeah, that's a good
there's a
point.
lot. Yeah, I mean, it does like a very, because it seems to me like the limitation of AI is like the most it's ever going to be able to do is a passable job. It's going to get a little more passable each time, but at the end of the day, it's only going to be passable. Like, there's still
What
a
misses
whole lot of
nuance?
yeah, there's still a whole lot of opportunity, especially for mastering engineers. Lander has had their AI mastering for almost like what, somewhere between 5 and 10 years now.
It's been a little while,
And-
yeah.
Yeah, and there's still people who would rather, get a mastering engineer because you have an actual human listening to your music and making creative decisions, as opposed to a computer saying it's just like, well, this is what the average is, so let's do that.
Yeah, that's a
And
good point.
I think that's totally fair. But once again, it comes back down to the notion of the art versus the product. And YouTubers, influencers, they're not worried about any form of like original piece of music. They're not they're not fussed about whether it's beautifully mastered using analog gear or analog emulator gear. They just want
Right.
something to stick at minus 25 dB on their video. That's all they want. And this is
Yeah.
going to play in the background. And
Yeah,
that
it's capitalism, baby.
It's capitalism, baby. It is, yeah, exactly. And that's all it's about at the end of the day. It's about that product, and it is the very beginnings. I feel this shows for the first time the very beginnings of those sound libraries and the content music being taken away from hands being taken. And we haven't got time to have that conversation about whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing at all today, but that is where we're at, I feel, in this regard for that.
Yeah, just to give one bit of optimism or hope is that I can see also as this grows in terms of ease of use on the creator side, I could see also consumers and stuff wanting to hear more natural, organic things as well, like craving that human expression, like a human writing lyrics that is actually resonating with them because they're singing from their soul. I'm not saying it will become the pop mainstream, but I could see a large contingency seeking authenticity. Thank you, Asa. I'm still in a sleep deprived state, so I'm glad Asa is there to cover me. But yeah, there's still going to be a group that craves that authenticity because we're going to be bombarded by all of this AI creations and things like that because it's the ease of use, affordable for the creators and things like that. But the end user some may crave that authenticity, just like there were cravings for lack of auto tune or this and that. And I'm not saying it's for sure, but I could see that becoming a thing. I mean, there's always independent music that's doing something different from what the pop mainstream's doing. So we'll see it too, I would bet.
I mean, and they get to do whatever's not mainstream until the mainstream decides to just incorporate that in.
Until that goes into the AI, and then you got to. But then you just move on. Smiling Air said engineers and producers went through this 30 years ago when home computers gutted their industry. Yeah, things are always going to be changing. That's kind of what I was mentioning. Things are always changing. That's just the way the future. There's always new advancements and things, and jobs change because of that. It's not good, but I mean, we have to figure out how can we adapt as independent musicians to the changing dynamic.
On a slightly brighter, to continue a brighter note, when it comes to sampling, because I think another use for this, as well as content creation, is obviously sampling. You could whack that in and get something quite nice to sample with. You can stem split it and all that. What this does throw into the question is the notion of copyright and the notion of perhaps reforming copyright laws in regards to what you can and can't sample.
We've been waiting for that for quite a while, man.
I know, I'm waiting for it, and I think this is another step towards that, and I'm very excited by that in that regard. The notion of, soon enough you won't be able to tell the difference. If you listen to Mississippi Delta Blues, for example, you're not going to be able to notice the difference between Sam Chapman and an AI piece, and that means you can sample anything. Now, I don't know any samplers, and I don't know any beat makers who have got absolutely no problem illegally ripping samples. So I haven't met anyone who has yet. But if you are worried about that, you can now use this and you have to worry about that.
That's the interesting
and also, you don't have to worry about copyright. You don't have to worry about being whacked or anything like that. but also it breeds that question of, okay, if it's so good and you can't tell the difference, how are we going to police this? What do we do? You know, and
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
mean, but we run into a ton of copyright stuff because you talk. I mean, sampling can be copyright if you're not sampling just yourself. Like if you're sampling others, you're in copyright murky water, beyond murky waters. Like you're in copyright infringement. But also the way this AI is getting its sounds and stuff is it, you know, are we looking at long-term copyright issues when, you know, depending on how it's taking the sounds and things like that. Like, is that going to become an issue? Because, you know, we see about art that a lot of these AIs are taking the art. And I mean, this is beyond our scope and capability, but it's just interesting that there could be copyright issues coming with AI. But as it stands currently on today, April 17th, 2024, there's no copyright to the AI productions that I know of. Like it's free use or, you know, whatever. So you can, like you're saying, I mean, that's an interesting way to use AI if you're a sample based musician or not, but you're looking to get started with a song and don't have an idea. There you go.
Yeah.
You know, one quick comment before we wrap up. Drew says, here in the UK, that is why free parties are starting to take off again because people are sick of the mainstream. So, yeah.
Wait, what?
I'm not sure, but
yeah, what's a free party? What are they talking about?
I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe
like a house party, just like going around someone's house, just sticking on YouTube. Maybe, I don't know, but I mean that sounds good to me.
Yeah, Ross clarifies different countries treat AI output differently. I'm in the US, so that's what I see. They say USA, no copyright. So yeah. Smiler says raves, I think, in clarification.
Oh, okay. Raves. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Music.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's where we're at with AI. We just wanted to show you the sounds. Thanks, Curtis, for going through all of those prompts, and we'll put all of them up in the Discord. But let's wrap up. Lars, what have you got going on this week?
Well, so for this weekend, I'm waiting on somebody. Somebody said he was going to send me some stems to do a remix of a track, but I haven't heard anything back about it.
I'm curious, when you were in the green room, did you hear anything of what I've described of my last week? I haven't even been on the computer, man. I got to get you those stems. I know. I got to get you those stems. I'm sorry.
I've been in the same kind of zone. I finally got this fun little setup going on over here.
Yeah.
So
I like the ring light.
Yeah, that's what any of the videos you see on my Instagram where it's like the image behind it and stuff. That's what I've been doing. That's my new thing.
Nice. And Curtis, what about you?
I've bought myself a new MacBook Air, a new iMac. And
you bought two different Apple computers?
I bought an iMac and I bought a MacBook Air. They're not like the brand new ones. I got them really dirt cheap. I think I paid about $100 for them both.
Yo, what?
Yeah, I paid $100 for them both, and they're 2018, I believe, and they're not OS supported. They're not like the big. They're not.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say.
Okay.
They are, but they are going to be good little sketch pads. Also, to allow us to do more live demos on my end, because right now Sunwarper's been doing all the live demos. So I'm going to have one sitting just off camera here so that we can do some more live demos. Basically, made a small investment. So this weekend, as well as a day at work, is going to be making sure that's all communicating, put that into the rig essentially.
That's
I'm
exciting,
building I'm building a little doorless kind of thing on the second desk over there. So yeah, we're growing. We're growing.
I don't know if a computer goes into play with a DAWless setup.
Recording. Nothing goes through. Nothing is being used. It's just basically a glorified tape player.
Oh, I got
a glorified tape player. But yeah, so that's me. What about you, Sunwarper? What are you up to?
Surviving. I do have a video out tomorrow that's all about the sound generator and making it like more like a synth and how to use it and things. So I'm thinking every other week I'm going to do one specific function of 4.04 like in depth. Like in 2 weeks I'll do the live looper, because I've got a really interesting routing with that live looper where I'm capturing sounds from the DAW and then creating them in the SP. So it's really cool, thanks to USB-C and stuff. But other than that, yeah, it's a crazy week. So surviving and trying to get Lars those stems.
Nice.
Worst case, just stem split it, man. Use some AI.
Use some AI. We're
there you go.
AI here. Yes. Yes.
Throw it through FL or Koala.
FL. Wait, anybody still use FL Studio? I haven't
Dude,
used.
you got to
that
watch
since-
last 2 weeks ago episode. FL's got some of the best stem separation
It does,
compared to
yeah, it
Koala and
really does.
MPC. It crushed both of them.
Oh man. As much
It's
as I want to
great.
defend Machine, it's like they still haven't even talked about stem splitting. I can't even get internal MIDI routing yet. Like, come on, guys.
dude.
Let's get with the
Hey.
program.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great, man. Check it out. I love it. I've rekindled my love for FL Studio. They've also got a chord generator and stuff in there, which is good fun, essentially. So,
Good.
for people listening back and for people watching who are interested, I am just putting up the prompts and the tunes in a zip file. It's a WeTransfer zip file into Discord, the ADSN channel. Go check it out. I did a lot more experimentation than we put on the show. We didn't have time for it this week, but it's good fun. So go and have a look.
Yeah.
All
Yeah, and
right.
we will be back next week, 11 a.m. Pacific. In the interim, if you want to talk about all these things and check out more of the AI music and all that type of stuff, head over to our Discord. The link is in the description. We have a lot of fun over there, and then we'd love to see you in the next community genre Gambit, the Discord challenge, because we're having a lot of fun with those. I'm working on mine. I'm going to share a snippet as soon as I can because it's interesting. I still need to find a way to incorporate Smiling Air's sample that he sent me because his was 116 BPM and I could not get anything until I went to like 156 BPM. It just didn't work in that godfleshy sound. I needed that like slightly, and then I did this thing because my bass wasn't tuned. So I set the Jazz Master, which is in drop B. I put a pitch shifter down 12 semitones and just recorded single notes. Just for a standard, and man, it sounded nasty, but I liked it because I'm gonna put that with the bass once I get the bass tuned because it's gonna fatten up that low end in a very weird way. But all that like artifacting was pretty trippy. Yeah. But yeah, so head over there, and until then, we'll see you next week. Curtis, do you mind hitting that video?
I will.
This time, hit the right.
I hit the right one this time. Yeah. Thank you ever so much. We will see you next week. Take it easy now. Ciao.